All right, as we close in on Election Day, voters in San Francisco have made it clear that public safety is a top priority. The city has struggled in recent years to address property crime and open drug use and drug dealing on the streets. But Mayor London Breed says the police department is making progress with crime numbers trending down.
Okay, so we want to continue the conversation this afternoon with San Francisco Mayor London Breed. Thank you again for sticking around. So your opponents, Mayor, have really slammed you for not being aggressive enough when it comes to the issue of crime. I want you to listen to one of your opponents, Daniel Lurie, when he was on our show earlier this week, and what he had to say about your approach to crime.
I have said public safety is my #1 priority. It has to be. And it can't just be during an election year, which is what we've seen from this mayor.
Okay, he argues that you have shifted to a more tough on crime approach strictly for political gain.
Well, just to be very clear, San Francisco has always been very focused on helping to address crime, but there was a time where we had a district attorney who wasn't willing to hold people accountable. I'm proud that I appointed Brooke Jenkins, our DA. Now you have not just our local law enforcement agencies working together, but we're working with state and federal law enforcement agencies to address crime. So it's not just about the arrest and the report, it's the prosecution. And one of the reasons why the Police Officers Association endorsed my candidacy and no one else is because we work together. We now finally have some 21st century technology to help address and combat crime. Numbers are trending down. We're talking about someone who has absolutely zero experience. I think, to say that he is going to focus on crime, well, what is he going to do? He's never worked a hard day in his life. He's never had to do anything or make any challenging decision. And the reason why I've said that that's dangerous, because this is a major city. This involves someone who is battle-tested, proven in a crisis, and knows what she is doing when things happen, like a global pandemic, like the loss of a mayor in office. San Francisco is a major city that could deal with a pandemic, a fire, earthquake at any given time, heaven forbid, a terrorist attack. And you need someone with experience to lead the city, and he has absolutely none.
Let's talk, if we could, Mayor, about police staffing levels. Obviously a major issue here because we know the department is understaffed. This week you announced the latest police academy class that just got underway has 50 recruits. That's the largest number of trainees that you've had in the city in 6 years. But the department, as you know, still about 500 officers short of what's recommended. If voters give you another 4 years in office, how long do you believe it will be until the department is fully staffed?
So we believe, based on the numbers and retirees and taking everything into account, that we will be fully staffed in the next 2.5 years. But let me be very clear as to why crime is also trending down. It's because we are, of course, giving police officers the tools they need to do their jobs, but also we've helped to increase morale. We're making San Francisco Police Department working together a destination. We've seen people transfer from other departments to our department. We're fully staffed because now people want to work there in the midst of law enforcement agencies all over this country. They're struggling with recruitment, they're struggling with retention, and what you see in San Francisco is an interest for people to want to work here. We're also—
What's driving that interest, you think?
What's driving it is I negotiated a good contract. San Francisco is financially competitive with retention bonuses to keep people here. What's driving it is giving them the tools. This did not come from me. I went and met with officers all over the city, and they talked about drones, surveillance, using license plate readers, and being able to use their camera systems to write reports so they're not taken off the street. So giving them what they need so they can focus on doing their job. Also, alternatives to policing, taking things off their place, like wellness checks or people struggling with mental illness. That is not a police response unless there's violence involved. So we've made some considerable progress, and again, it's why the Police Officers Association has endorsed me only, because we've made process. San Francisco is now a place that people want to work in law enforcement, and it took a while to turn that around.
Mayor, we also need to talk about this recent corruption scandal. Your appointee to the Human Rights Commission recently stepped aside. She oversaw $1.5 million in contracts going toward a nonprofit led by a man that she lives with. My question to you is, were enough protective measures put in place to make sure that something like this didn't happen and to make sure that there wasn't favoritism?
Well, let me just be very clear. She is someone who I've known for many years, but I did not appoint her. When this situation came to our attention, before it was made public, we stopped funding for the Dreamkeeper initiative. We had the controller's office go in and do a deep dive, which is why some of this was uncovered. And once it was, it's why I asked for her resignation. And she basically submitted her resignation. And we have put in place someone who we know is capable of going and doing a deep dive to see if there are other things that might be very problematic. I will tell you that many of the safeguards that I put in, over 60 various changes, as well as 7 executive directives that the controller's office in our city and the city attorneys oversee, helps us to establish the kinds of systems that are in place to help us avoid situations like this. But some things will fall through the cracks, and when they do, we have to respond. And that's exactly what I've done. But I also just want to point out the work of this initiative has led to new business opportunities, opportunities for people to be employed. We have a city EMT program that helps train and support people in the neighborhoods, people who grow up in San Francisco, so that they can work in places like the fire department of San Francisco. So it does some great programs, and it's unfortunate that this happened, but the reason why we had to do a deep dive is to make sure we protect this very important program so it can continue the work, and unfortunately we've had a major setback.
Mayor, we're almost out of time, but I do want to get just quickly your take on Proposition 36, which I know you've come out in favor of here. However, critics, including the governor of California, say that this is going to lead to more people being incarcerated, and it's going to divert more money away from drug treatment programs here. How do you respond to that criticism, and explain to voters why you're supporting Prop 36?
Yeah. Well, I think unlike my opponents, I actually grew up in poverty, in public housing in San Francisco. And I grew up with people at a time when the crack epidemic, gun violence, and all of those things were very much problematic in our neighborhood. And so when I've made decisions about crime and other issues, I've gone to some of the people I've grown up with. We've not abandoned our values in San Francisco. We have, and I do as mayor of San Francisco, people in recovery, people who are formerly incarcerated working for me. And many of these same people are the ones out there helping to combat some of the issues around fentanyl. And they are the ones on the front line trying to help save lives. They are supporting this measure, and I am supporting this measure because fentanyl is poison. It is killing people like nothing we've ever experienced. And we cannot just do a slap on the wrist anymore. We have to make sure that there are real consequences, and Proposition 36 will help us with that. But I also want to be very clear. An arrest does not mean automatic jail time, but it does mean accountability. Arrest can mean jail, it can mean treatment, it can mean community service, but it can't mean anything goes. And that's why our district attorney, our police chief, and all of our law enforcement agencies, along with people in our recovery community, we are all working together to try and combat what is a very problematic thing all over the country. And in San Francisco, we're lockstep, and we want to see change, and we believe this is part of it.
Mayor London Breed, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much for taking the time. Again, a really important week for San Francisco voters. A lot for them to digest until November. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Mayor.
All right, stay with us here. Up next on The Four, we're live with our political analyst to get some insight on the candidates leading the race for San Francisco mayor. And we'll also talk about how ranked choice voting could affect the outcome of this election.